Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 16 deadline stream. So, lots of things happened over the press conferences and over the midweek as well with Champions League games, etc. So, a lot of things to discuss. And since the team selection video that I put out earlier this week, um, news has come out, right? That Arteta was saying, he alluded to the fact that Gabriel should be fine. So if you watch the team selection video, I was kind of thinking whether I should make a defender transfer or not. But now it seems like if Gabriel is fine, maybe I could roll. So plans are changing a little bit. We'll go through it as we get through the stream. But thank you, all of you guys, for coming down early. The deadline is not until 4.5 hours later, so we're very early today, but as always, that's how it is on this channel, and you guys enjoy the early stream. So let me just say hi to some of you guys in the chat who came in super early. Viander, nice to see you first this time as well. Absolute legend. Michael Gelwida, hello, have a nice day for all. Yeah, have a nice day to you as well. And nothing but pancake says good day, mate. All right, so thank you all for coming early. There's already 40 of you guys here. So if you haven't already, please do drop a like on the stream. And we can get started with any questions that you guys have. But maybe since I have some updates on my team, maybe I'll just share before we get into the questions. In terms of keeper-wise, it's not going to change. For sure, it's for Bruggen. Because Flecken has Chelsea away. The back line is actually honestly fine. I'm really okay with Aina playing Aston Villa at home. I actually think that could be a good fixture for Forest as well. Bearing in mind that Villa played midweek, so this could be a Villa side that is a little bit fatigued. In midfield, it's Saka, Salah, Palmer, and Semenyo, all home fixtures. In fact, all my players have home fixtures, which I think a lot of people or a lot of FPL managers are looking at their teams right now, and most of your players are having home fixtures. So not a surprise there. And then João Pedro, Cunha, and Jackson, all with pretty decent fixtures as well. So captaincy-wise, it's going to be a huge discussion. I imagine that a lot of people will be kind of flip-flopping between players like Salah, Saka, as well as Palmer. For the time being, I have it on Palmer, but I might put the vice captain on Salah just for good measure. Right, so I do think like this is likely how I'm gonna line up. And in terms of the Gabriel news, we hope to get some team leagues because Arsenal is the first game, or they're part of the group of first games that are going to kick off in 6 hours time, right? So they are, I guess you can call it the early kickoff. So hopefully we get some leaks, but we know with Arteta how it is, right? In terms of his transparency with team news, etc. So maybe we end up not getting anything, but at least for the time being, I'm pretty happy to just have Gabriel here and then roll the free transfer. All right, so let's get to some of your questions. 78 of you guys in the chat already. Very, very nice. Nice to see all of you guys. Would you rather start Chris Wood or Morgan Rogers? Definitely Chris Wood. Firstly, the penalties, and secondly, he's playing at home. And I actually think the Forest defense is better than the Villa defense. So in which case, I think it's slightly easier for Chris Wood to get a goal than it is for Rogers. Nathan Smith, nice to see you in a bit early this week. Do you like durian? Always in here with the food questions, but yes, I do like durian. It is an acquired taste. You either love it or you hate it. I am in the camp of people who like durian. Vienda says, I have no questions today because I've played the bench boost. Wow. Also on the topic of bench boost, or on the topic of I guess double game weeks, right? Because usually you play your bench boost in a double game week. There is the Liverpool and Everton game being penciled in for game week 24, but that is not locked in yet because it is dependent on Liverpool's performance in the Champions League, which would allow them, right, if they stay in the top 8, it will allow them to get a free midweek in the week of Game Week 24, in which case they can play Everton in that week, giving them a double game week in Game Week 24. And obviously, more news has come out as well in terms of the FPL game itself, where we have now the assistant manager chip. So maybe I should have started off with a bit of discussion on this chip first. I do have my own thoughts, but I'm actually very keen to know what everyone thinks about this assistant manager chip. So if you're in the chat, can you do me a favor and just drop your opinions of the assistant manager chip in the chat? I want to see what you guys think about it before I share kind of my early thoughts on it, because obviously there's still a lot to unpack with the assistant manager chip. A lot of, I guess, fixture analysis has to be done as well. But let's see what some of you guys think. Start three from Gomez, Trent, Colwell, Hall, and Gabriel. Right. Trent for sure. And then Gabriel as well, because I think he's in the camp where if he's fit to play, he'll start. If he isn't, then he'll just not come on at all. So I have him in the starting 11 as well. And then it comes down to Hall, Colwell, and also Gomez. So I think I might go for Lewis Hall for the slightly greater goal threat. I might go for Lewis Hall. Colwell plays Brentford. It's a decent enough fixture, but I think Lewis Hall has a little bit more attacking threat. So I'll probably go those three: Trent, Hall, and Gabriel. Chicken Rice says, should I sell Gabriel to get Trent due to the uncertainty? I already have Virgil van Dijk, Raya for goalkeeper. Thank you in advance. I wouldn't do that. I would keep Gabriel, and you already have Van Dijk, so I don't think there's a need to double up on Liverpool defense. Teams looking similar. I have Sells and Trent for your Verbruggen and Aina, and Mitoma, and then Mitoma and Isak for Semenyo and Jackson. Definitely rolling. Yeah, I mean, this week seems like a week to roll if you don't have any defender issues. It does seem like a week to roll. So maybe a little bit more quiet of a week. That could be why they released the assistant manager chip. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm very interested to get to the bottom of the chat, because now I'm still quite far behind, but I want to see what you guys think of the assistant manager chip. So let me quickly get through. Mark says, thoughts on any ways to improve my squad? Flecken, Fabianski, Gabriel, Vardiol, 8 Nuri, Van Heck, Greaves, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Semenyo, Rogers, Isak, Cunha, João Pedro. Your squad is fine. Your squad is, I think, it's fine. And you roll the transfer. I think next week in Game Week 17, there will be slightly more options to go for. I think there will be more cheap options in the midfield, as well as the defense that will come up, right? Like, take for example Anthony Robinson. Like, I wouldn't buy him this week because he has Liverpool, but I think next week, if I am looking for a defender, he's one of those that's definitely on my radar. SSWS, nice to see you in the chat. Ryan says, would you rather play Fernandes or Enzo? I'm guessing Bruno Fernandes or Enzo Fernandes. Well, Bruno has Man City, right? Yeah, Bruno has Man City, and Enzo Fernandes has the easier fixture. But then again, Bruno Fernandes is on penalties, right? It largely depends on the role that Fernandes plays, which still is quite deep, I guess. So I'm not super keen on playing him against Manchester City. But by the same token as well, Man City conceding lots of goals. I don't know. I don't think I can sit with the fact that I'll be benching Bruno Fernandes at 8.5 million on the bench. It just feels a little bit easier to bench Enzo Fernandes. Best 4.5 or below defender. Levi Colwell. I'll go for Levi Colwell. I don't think he's 4.6, is he? I think he's 4.5. Yeah, Levi Colwell is the one I'll go for this week. What do you another interesting pick you could go for is Kirkes from Bournemouth, but I think I prefer the Chelsea defense. Would you start Semenyo or Rodgers this week? Semenyo. Need one to bench. Bruno, Wood, Cunha, Enzo, João Pedro. I think it comes down to Bruno Fernandes or Enzo Fernandez. I don't know. It just seems crazy to bench Bruno Fernandes, right? Start two from Vardiol, Hall, Kirkes, and bench one from Enzo, Bowen, Cunha, and João Pedro. I actually like the fixtures for Hall and Kirkes, but can you really bench Vardiol against Manchester United at home? And I think Vardiol definitely starts because Lewis is suspended for this game. So I'll probably go, I think Vardiol, and then one of Hall or Kirkes, leaning towards Kirkes, I guess. Bench one from Enzo, Bowen, Cunha, and João Pedro. Probably Enzo. Both Semenyo and Jackson out for Enzo and Isak for a -4 hit. Is it worth it? Nah, I wouldn't do that. Should I start or bench Raul Jimenez? Depends who you're benching him for. If you have a much better option, then sure. But I don't mind if you just have to start him this week because of a lack of options. Right, there's already 160 of you guys in the chat. So thank you all for coming down early. We are super early today. But let me just, right, I'm going to speed through the questions so I can get to your opinions on the assistant manager chip. If those of you guys who just joined, let me know in the chat what you think of the assistant manager chip. Favorite replacement for Vista this week. Would you sell him? I can afford up to Jackson, but that would lock me out of Trent. Thinking Chris Wood. Thanks. I don't mind buying Chris Wood. Like I'll be honest. I think when I sold Chris Wood for João Pedro last week, it was with the idea to free up funds. But now that I think about it, was it really necessary? Because Chris Wood also, I mean, this could be hindsight, but Chris Wood also has been doing super well. So yeah, I don't mind if you buy Chris Wood. Like the fixtures moving forward are deceivingly, like on the official FPL kind of color scheme, it seems quite tricky, but I don't think it is as difficult as it seems. Like Brentford away is a fine fixture. Everton and Wolves also great fixtures. Spurs, they tend to concede. And then Aston Villa also not watertight. Like I do think like this is a decent enough run for Forest. Right, so the assistant manager chip would have been great with Palace last season. I'll be waiting for an opportunity like this again this season. Yeah, that's the great thing, right, about the assistant manager chip. Like, there's so many ways you could play it. Okay, maybe I'll share a little bit of my, I guess, early thoughts. It's that I think this is the chip with the highest upside because usually your triple captain chip, like I played it early this season, it got me extra 17 points. So I'm pleased. I'm very, very pleased with that. In previous seasons, I got about 9 points extra from the triple captainship. So with that kind of thinking, then I look at the bench boost as well. Like usually how many points do I get from that? It's about 20, anything above 20 points for the bench boost you'd be happy with. So then I look at the assistant manager chip and you get 6 points for every win. So if you do pick a team that is strong enough, for example, you go for the conventional method of playing the assistant manager chip on someone like Arne Slot, and you play in a week where there's double game weeks as well. So for your 3 consecutive game weeks, one of it is a double game week. That basically means that you have 4 games. So 4 times 6, assuming your assistant manager wins every game, is already 24 points. And then you add on the fact that every goal that you score, there's 1 point. Clean sheets, there's 2 points. I think the baseline, or I would say the floor for the assistant manager chip is already at a point where it's much higher than the triple captain chip or the bench boost chip. So I think it's very valuable. And then you add the dimension of the chip where you can also go for the bonus points. Basically, you go for the extra points that you get if you back the underdog. Because if you say, for example, go for someone like, I don't know, who's it? Say for example Gary O'Neill, right? And there was a point in time when Wolves were winning teams like Fulham, for example. So Wolves are all the way down right now, and if you happen to pick the underdog, which is Wolves, in the game where they did win Fulham 4-1, you remember Cunha did really well that game. Then you get an extra 10 points on top of the 6 that you already get for a win. So the ceiling is so high, and the floor is also higher than what you'd get for a triple captain chip or a bench boost chip. I just feel like my approach, based off of what we know of the assistant manager chip, would be to just think about mainly when I want to play the assistant manager chip, and then work around my other transfers or other chips to kind of fit the game weeks where I want to play the assistant manager chip. Hopefully it's not too confusing. But basically, I play my chips around the assistant manager chip. That's gonna be my approach. I also haven't locked in whether I want to make it, whether I want to use it in the conventional way, backing a strong team like Liverpool, or I want to use it, I don't know, depending on whether I'm chasing, whether I want to use it on an underdog team. Like you look at the table as well. Let me just have a look. Is there the table on the? Okay, let me just switch over to. Right, so I'm gonna switch over to SofaScore. You look at the table, like there are some teams that you can back. Like you look, Everton is at 15th, right? And let's say they play, I don't know, Brentford at home, right? Like they play it at Goodison Park. Like, could it be a game where maybe you want to back the underdog, right? So I want to leave the door open. I don't want to just lock into a strategy that is, going the conventional method. Like I want to really explore, which is why I think there's going to be more analysis that needs to be done on the fixtures or when is the best time to use the chip, because I want to kind of maximize it. So, right, enough rambling from me. I went on quite a bit, but hopefully there was a different perspective for some of you guys. Right, let me get back to it. All right, so yeah, I thought it would inject a bit of fun and chaos into the planning. Always welcome something new and fun for FPL. Yeah, fair enough. It's great for non-casuals, exactly, which is also conversely true, right? It's not good for the casuals, which I think in terms of a game perspective, like you want to engage both the managers who are already into the game, and you also want to engage those managers who are new to the game. I just don't think this chip is going to help in terms of how complex it already is. And then you also kind of put them at a disadvantage. Like casuals usually don't have that high of a team value, and then you want to make them pay up to 1.5 million for an assistant manager, and then cause them to maybe have less money for their actual outfield players. Like, I don't know, it's not a great chip for the casual is what I would say. It's not a great chip for the casual. Right, I'm gonna speed through the chat. I have to apologize, I rambled quite a bit. Toby, nice to see you in the chat. Haaland or Palmer captain? I have it on Palmer still. I think this fixture is better for Palmer. 2 free transfers. Would you sell Mbumo and Strand Larsen for Enzo and Isak? Yes, I would do those moves. I wouldn't put too much weight on Mbumo's performance last week, to be honest. Hate the new chip already. Don't understand it yet. Can you explain it a little bit better? Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of content has come out on the chip, but there is I have put up a very concise breakdown of what the chip entails on my Instagram, so you can check it out there. If you are upgrading one of the following for Isak before the deadline, who would you transfer? Cunha, João Pedro, and Chris Wood. I wouldn't sell any of those for Isak this week, to be honest. Had to do a -4. Lewis and Semenyo out for Johnson and Colwell. You have to bring Colwell in for cover for Gabriel in case Gabriel does not play. Lewis and Semenyo out for Johnson and Colwell. I guess you could just do Lewis to Colwell. You don't have to do Semenyo out for Johnson, to be honest. Captain, Salah, Palmer, or Saka? Let's do a captaincy poll in a bit. Would you play Bruno or Semenyo? Very tricky, but I can't see myself benching Bruno Fernandes, to be honest. Maybe that's why I don't have him. I think when using the assistant manager chip, it's better to save your transfers and use it to switch manager for manager if your feel is right when supporting the big underdog. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Like switching managers, I don't think. I mean, there's gonna be lots of different ways to play it, I'm sure, but I don't think you would be inclined to stick with the same manager every single week. Like, trust me, when upsets happen and people who pick those teams or those underdog teams who actually win, the following week after you've already activated the assistant manager chip, you will want to make a manager transfer already. Like, it will happen. It will happen. So I think saving transfers for your assistant manager chip is also going to be crucial. Which I think about it now, maybe that's the reason why they've kind of made it such that you can roll up to 5 free transfers. It's interesting. Maybe they, contrary to what we think, maybe they already thought about, what they want the mystery chip to be. It's interesting. It's interesting. Any leaks on Gabriel? Not for the time being. We are very, very early, but I can just have a look. Though I doubt we get anything. Yeah, nothing yet, which is obviously expected. We're super early today. Saliba to Gabriel, worth it or not? Not this week for sure. Like there's some doubt on Gabriel, but there's no doubt on Saliba. So I don't see why you will make that move. Salah, okay, Saka or Palmer, or Saka or Haaland captain. Let me just make a captaincy poll. I'm gonna put out the obvious ones. GW16 captaincy poll. First is gonna be, I'm gonna put Palmer there. Then Salah, Saka, and Haaland. Right, so let me know who you guys are captaining. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be one of those premium midfielders that's gonna get the lion's share of the captaincy vote. Semenyo or João Pedro? I try to start both this week, to be honest. Would you then replace Bruno with Odegaard? I think that really comes down to the kind of triple up you want. Like, I wouldn't just make that move just so that I can, have a good fixture this week. Like, I would only make it if I'm completely sure that moving forward, I want Odegaard for the long term. I don't think you'd be in a situation where you're kind of changing around Arsenal players, with your free transfers every single week. That feels like a bit of a luxury. So I think still in midfield, the one I would want is Saka. And then do you go for an additional attacker in maybe Odegaard slash Havertz, or you go for double defense, which I think I would still lean towards double defense. So I don't think I would just, replace Bruno with Odegaard to save myself a benching headache. Like I put a bit more thought into whether I want Odegaard for the long term. Mbumo and Haaland to Salah and Isak also have Gabriel with no worthy subs in defense. Mbumo and Haaland to Salah and Isak. I guess that could work. I mean, would I do it? Probably yes, but again, the decision to sell Haaland is likely one that you need to be able to sit with for a long period of time. And I did feel as if as we delay the move more and more, that maybe it's not going to be as straightforward. But I think at least now in game week 16 still, I think I might still just make that move because Liverpool's fixtures are still very good for a very decent amount of time. All right, so especially from I think game week 18 onwards, the only question I would think about is whether you want to adopt a team structure with both Haaland and Salah, which for now I think sounds crazy. Like no one wants to do that for now. But maybe once the fixtures start to turn a little bit for Haaland, that could be more of a team structure that people explore. So we'll see. But I think I still make that move. Salah and Isak in. If you have no worthy subs in defense and you're fine to take the gamble, fair enough. But I might just make a defensive change just for extra cover as well. Like I have Greaves on the bench for right. I realized that I'm on my points for last week. I have Greaves on the bench. It's not as if I think he's definitely gonna start or keep a clean sheet, but I think it's I guess good enough for me to roll the transfer and bank on that. Start Mbumo or Rogers. I think I still go Mbumo for the pens. How many goals do you expect in the Arsenal game? I expect it to be slightly more tricky. I don't think it's going to be a case where Arsenal are going to run riot against Everton. So, because defensively, I think Everton are okay. They're all right. Right. So, I don't think they're going to run all over Everton, but maybe a 2-0, I'd expect. And hopefully, Gabriel starts as well. So, it's 2 clean sheets. Should I take out Luca Dean? I'd say yes. I mean, the good fixtures are kind of gone for them already. The next 3 are tricky, and there's always doubt surrounding Luca Dean, right? So I think you sell him. I have 2 free transfers. Planning to sell Bruno and Sanchez from Madueke and Raya. With Neto out, Madueke is a solid option. Is a solid option than Enzo. I think it depends on how Enzo Maresca deploys Enzo Fernandez for the next few games. Like he has seen or he has allowed Enzo Fernandez to venture forward much more in recent game weeks. And that's why you've seen Enzo come away with goals now and then. But I do think like for the longer term, does that happen? It could be the case, in which case I think Enzo is good value for how cheap he is. Right, and I'm also not so sold on Madueke, to be fair. Right, so would I do Bruno and Sanchez to Madueke and Raya? Probably not. Sanchez to Raya could be fine, but Bruno out for Madueke, I probably wouldn't. Morning K7, nice to see you. Jackson to Isak by Johnson to Semenyo. I don't think it's necessary. I think you keep Jackson and you keep Johnson. Start Mbumo or Rogers, I go Mbumo. Halion Allison in for Onana on 5 free transfers, but worried it blocks triple Liverpool. Yeah, I wouldn't go for Allison. I wouldn't go for Allison there. I go for another keeper. You could still choose for Bruggen, or else I think Raya could be one to go for as well. If you have only Robinson as bench cover, would you replace Gabriel? No. If yes, who would be the best transfer target? I wouldn't. If I have Robinson, I'll just have him as a good enough bench cover. It doesn't have to be ideal. It doesn't have to be ideal. Like some weeks, it's okay to have a less than optimal setup. Who do you advise to sell between Larson and Solanke for Isak? Ideally, Larson, but it depends how much money you have. Can you go from Larson to Isak, or do you need the funds from Solanke? Havertz to Isak or save the transfer? Um, I think Havertz to Isak is a good enough move. It's just whether I make it this week or not. Like Everton at home is a decent enough fixture for Havertz. Would you rather have Isak or Jackson? For sure, at this point, it's Isak. What are your thoughts on Fernandes and Vissa out for Enzo, Fernandes, and Isak? No hit. For free. For free, I think yes. I think I would do it for free. Gabriel to Trent or Lewis to Kukurea / Colwell for -4. I keep Gabriel, so I do Lewis to Colwell for a -4. Just give me a moment. Okay. Apologies. Right. Toby says, Leon, I want to captain Palmer. Can you captain? You can captain Salah. We both can captain Palmer, and Palmer's on 51%, by the way, and Salah's on 44%. Yeah, I mean, I expected that this would be the case, right? Like it would be between those two. Lionel says, any news on when Konate is coming back? Thinking of getting Gomez. Until next year. So you probably get until, if I'm to estimate, how much use you would get out of Joe Gomez. I think you get at least from game week 16 all the way until game week 20, which is good enough, right? Then from game week 20 to game week 21, there's a bit more of a break. There's a kind of a rest for players. It's not really an international break. They wouldn't be traveling as well. It's just a rest for players, a stipulated rest time by the Premier League. So there's a bit more of a rest time. I do think that in game week 21, that's when maybe Konate comes back. So you get at least 5 game weeks out of Joe Gomez. So it's worth considering for sure. And do I think that Joe Gomez is ahead of Gerald Kwanzaa still? I do think that's the case. I don't think Kwanzaa starts ahead of Joe Gomez. So Jan says, took a hit to remove Mbumo and Vissa for Isak and Enzo. Is it okay? I think it's fine. Thoughts on Vardiol against Manchester United? Not ideal, but it's also not the end of the world to have to play Vardiol against United. Semenyo, Odegaard, and Chris Wood bench one. Wow. Very, very tough. Who else can you bench? Who else is... I imagine you have Saka, and Palmer. You wouldn't bench them as well. Who are your other forwards? Evan says start Aina or Dunk this week. Dunk. When will you take Wood from your squad and to whom? I've already removed Chris Wood from my team, but if I could, I would have him still. Like if I didn't make that move previously in game week 15, I think I'd be happy enough to just have Chris Wood still. Triple captain Cole Palmer, I don't think I'd do it this week. Bench one, Strand Larson, João Pedro, Semenyo, and Enzo Fernandez. I would bench Strand Larson. Thoughts on Crystal Palace players for the upcoming game weeks? I don't mind it. It's just that Palace have not been scoring lots of goals, so I don't expect that they're going to get a lot of returns as well. K7 says, I have the funds to go straight from Isak to Larson, then just go straight from Isak to Larson. Like that would be the play. Sorry, from Larson to Isak. When are you planning to bring Trent Alexander-Arnold in? I'll be honest, I don't actually have plans to bring Trent in. I don't actually have plans for that. I'm trying to keep it flexible here, and I'm happy enough once Gabriel is back fit to just have both Saliba and Gabriel week in, week out, and then just play around with that last defender spot. And also because I have more money in the bank by not going for Trent, it could potentially open up other possibilities like maybe Cunha up to someone like Isak, for example. So it depends. We'll see. But I'm keeping it flexible and I'm not going to bring Trent in for sure. Like I still have to think about it. Would you rather have Strand Larson or João Pedro? João Pedro for sure. Yeah, especially if you already have Cunha. Who to play, Bruno or João Pedro? João Pedro definitely has the better fixture. I think it's easier to bench Bruno for someone like João Pedro as compared to, I don't know, like a Semenyo or something. Kevin De Bruyne to Son for a -4. I don't think I'll be buying Son now. What are your early thoughts for double game weeks? Is it more optimal to use bench boost rather than the assistant manager chip if the triple captain chip is used as per your scenario? So I've already used the triple captain chip. Now moving forward, is it more optimal to use the bench boost rather than the assistant manager chip for double game weeks? Again, as I've said, I think I would play my chips moving forward around the assistant manager chip. I would see which game weeks are the most ideal for the assistant manager chip, and then I will work the other chips around it. I think a very popular strategy that people have already come out to say is to use the assistant manager chip in kind of game weeks 31 to 33, because 33 is likely going to be a double and then 34 is going to be a blank, so that's when you use your free hit, and then you can bench boost in 36, which is the last double game week. So then the wild card kind of naturally slots itself into just before you use the assistant manager chip, which is game week 30, or game week 35, which is just before you bench boost. So I guess it really depends. I just do think like when it comes to the assistant manager chip, I'm likely going to find a use for it in a double game week. I will want one of those 3 consecutive game weeks to overlap with a double game week. And then I would also want to kind of make sure the fixtures are good. And also I have to think about, that's why I say there's a lot of analysis that needs to be done, because I want to see the fixtures for those weeks. Are there good enough underdogs to back in that week as well? So a lot to think about, a lot to unpack, but at least in terms of early thoughts, this is likely what I think about the assistant manager chip. Ricky, nice to see you in the chat. You made it for the stream. Any idea when to get rid of Ryan, 8, Nuri, and Cunha? They have good fixtures, but not many returns lately. So it's very, very soon. After the Leicester away game, and you could even argue that if they, don't do well against Ipswich at home, you could start selling them already. But for me, I think I'd be looking towards selling them after this Leicester away fixture. After game week 17, it gets very, very bad for Wolves. So yeah, I mean, for their sake as well, I think they pick up some points in these last few games while it's still good. If not, the fixtures after that are pretty bad. Mbumo for Saka or Watkins for Isak? Mbumo for Saka. But Watkins is also a bit of a doubt. But I just think Saka is someone I really, really want. Like, who would you prioritize out of Saka and Isak? Start Aina or Colwell. Colwell. Vardiel or Gabriel to start? Gabriel. Starting 11 this week: Raya, Gabriel, Gomez, Nuri, Saka, Palmer, Enzo, Salah, Pedro, Isak, Jackson. It's fine. Your starting 11 is fine. Do you like Saka as a captain? I think not as much as the two favorites, which is Salah and Palmer. Is Gabriel available? Let me just have a look again if we have any leaks. Yeah, no, not any leaks as of now. Not any leaks. So we're good in terms of, no news for the time being. Is Gabriel available? Yeah, don't really know yet. Is João Pedro, Cunha, Wood, Saka, Palmer, Salah, Semenyo, Odegaard, bench one? Whew. Odegaard, Semenyo, Salah, Palmer, Saka. I think you have to start that whole midfield, to be honest. And then it comes down to João Pedro, Cunha, or Wood. João Pedro is a great fixture, so I would start him. It comes down to Cunha or Wood, to be honest. Maybe Cunha. Maybe. It's a tough one, that one. Reasons to captain Palmer over Salah: the better fixture, and Palmer didn't play midweek. Salah played midweek. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's really not a lot to separate those two. Really not a lot. Another dilemma is, would you buy... Oh, something else that kind of makes me think that I'd rather go for Palmer as well is the matchup. Like, Anthony Robinson is pretty good as a left back, and Salah plays on the right. So his immediate matchup is Anthony Robinson, who did pretty well against Saka last week as well. So I think in terms of how much joy I think Salah's going to get, maybe not as much as he would usually get against a weaker matchup. But Palmer, then again, you see Brentford's defensive run is really, really poor. So I think Palmer gets a bit more joy than Salah. Would you buy Saliba or Virgil van Dijk this week? Depends, right? If you already have Gabriel plus Raya, I wouldn't buy Saliba. Like, I would go for Van Dijk. Depends on your team structure. João Pedro, Bowen, and Semenyo, which two to start? João Pedro for sure. And then either one of Bowen or Semenyo, maybe Bowen. Thoughts on sales to Alisson for free? I have no Liverpool defenders. I want to buy Alisson to cover Liverpool defense. I'd buy either one of Van Dijk or Trent. Bumo or Fernandes? Bumo or Fernandes? Not great fixtures for both of them. In terms of who's going to score more points this week, I still back Fernandes. Rodgers or Iwobi for this week? I think I would go Rodgers. Iwobi is good from next week onwards. Would you do Saka to Salah for free? Could sell Haaland to Isak and do Mbumo to Salah for a hit instead? I prefer the hit, Mandeep. No Trent for the double as well? Not necessarily. I haven't ruled it out yet. It's just I'm keeping it flexible. Ramadian says, I have Raya, Hall, Virgil van Dijk, Colbert on my back with Mikalenko and Greaves on the bench. Should I do Mikalenko to Timber for double Arsenal defense, though it'll cost my cash for getting Isak next week? I think your backline this week is fine, so I don't think it's necessary to force Timber in for double Arsenal defense. Why are we not getting leaks like last season? It's just the way it is, right? They're just keeping it under wraps, unfortunately, as I think we had last season we had a very reliable Arsenal leaguer in team leaked lineups. Like there he was a very reliable Arsenal early team news source. But yeah, I mean I think he's since stopped leaking. Maybe Arteta has come around to what has been happening. Eventually it was gonna happen, so couldn't have gotten away with it forever. Every time I save my team, it goes back to the team before. How do I fix this? Is there an issue with the website? Not for me though. I just did it just now. If it doesn't work on your computer, maybe you could use the app. That could work as well. Sell Dalo or Vardio. Um, I would say Dalo because I think from game week 18 onwards, I don't mind Vardio for this run. Yeah, so I would say Dalo. Kobel or Kirkes to start. I'll go Kirkes. I think Brentford and West Ham are equally as good as fixtures or as matchups. Then I'd favor the attacking threat of Kirkes. Hall or 8 Nuri. Hall. I'm going Isak. Isak as captain. Interesting. The poll has 254 votes. Palmer and Salah having the absolute lion's share there. Palmer on 84. Salah on 45. Harry says sell 8 Nuri or Van Heck. They will be on the bench anyway if Gabriel plays. I think I'd be more keen to sell 8 Nuri than Van Heck. Like Van Heck has a longer runway in terms of good fixtures. Layman says, thanks for the analysis on captaincy. I had Palmer set as captain, but kept switching around. Yeah, I think I'm pretty set on Palmer, to be fair. Arnold says, bench one of Visser, Bowen, Semenyo. Or sell all three for Isak, Enzo, and Rogers for a -8 hit. I definitely wouldn't do that. I would just bench one of Visser, Bowen, Semenyo. Maybe Visser, because the Chelsea matchup is the most tricky for him. Play Aina at home to Villa or 8 Nuri at home to Ipswich. This is an interesting one. I think I would take the chance because 8 Nuri, from an attacking standpoint, still is quite advanced. So I take the chance on that and go 8 Nuri, but it's close this week for those two. Who to captain, Cunha or Mitoma? I wouldn't go for either of them, my friend. Start Semenyo or Kirkes. If it's choosing between one, I definitely choose the attacker, so Semenyo. $6.7 million striker for Delap as a replacement. I think it comes down to the ones that we've already been discussing. So Chris Wood, João Pedro. You're talking about below 6.7 million, right? Then I think maybe Evan Nilsson, but I think he would be lower down on the pecking order for sure. Harry says, what's up would you do? Bruno, 8 Nuri, and Sanchez to Enzo, Trent, and Raya. I don't mind those moves, actually. Especially if it's for free. I don't mind those moves. Gordon plus Larson or Ahmad plus Isak. Ahmad plus Isak. Davies family says Davies to Trent and start Gabriel, Van Heck, and prefer the first one. Prefer the first one. Favorite FPL moment this season? I think this season favorite FPL moment so far has been the past few weeks of Saliba getting goals. Like I'll be honest. Like I mean the Palmer captaincy was great as well, but Saliba showing up 2 weeks in a row, getting goals from set pieces, that one has been pretty good. That one has been pretty good. Red Game says, "Hey Console, hope you're doing well. Thank you. I hope you are doing well too. Was wondering whether you'd start Enzo or João Pedro this week. I think I will still start João Pedro because of the pens. Mbumo slash Visa to Isak slash Suchek. Point one shot from Enzo. I prefer Enzo much more than I prefer Suchek. Start Rogers or Visa. I say Visa. Devon says, pleasant day. Bench Evan Nielsen or Semenyo for João Pedro. Semenyo. I'll go Evan Nielsen and João Pedro. Isak and Saka seem to be differential captains this week. Yeah, I mean, they're just not as high up the pecking order as Palmer and Salah, I would say. The matchup for Palmer is just so good this week. I can't look past it. Yeah, and honestly speaking, I don't have too much to change in terms of my team. Like, this is pretty much going to be it. Like, in fact, I can actually post, like, even if Gabriel... Okay, maybe if we get Gabriel news, maybe I make a defender transfer. But really, aside from that, I don't think there's too much to do with my team. Mikalenko or Greaves this week. If you have to start one, maybe you take a chance on... I don't know. Both are not great for this week. But maybe the attacking threat of Mikalenko could be a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to starting one of Mikalenko or Greaves, I think I start Mikalenko. Will Watkins start? We don't have news on that. We don't have news on that yet. But he is a doubt for sure. Enzo or Rogers? I prefer Enzo over Rogers. Start Rogers or Ahmad. Very tricky. I would want to take a chance on Ahmad, to be fair. Like, I just think the Nottingham Forest game for Aston Villa is not going to be as straightforward as what people think. Like, Forest are a very good defense. And I take a chance on Ahmad that Man City's defense is still leaky. Should I drop Onana? He's not playing good recently. If you have free transfers to deal with him, I don't mind just taking Onana out. Enzo or Rogers? I prefer Enzo over Rogers. Ash K says, which goalkeeper to go for Raya? Sorry, which goalkeeper to go for? Raya or Ellison from Flecken for a -4? I don't think keeper transfers are worth -4s, to be honest. Like, I just start Flecken this week. I have Gabriel, Vardiol, and 8 Nuri starting this week. That's fine. Enzo or Rogers? I prefer Enzo. Would you sell Vardiol or Timber for free? No. Like, I just keep both of them this week. Like, because Vardiol from kind of game week 18 onwards, fixtures are pretty good. Sujan says Saliba's backside goal is very, very lucky. I have to admit, I have to admit. So that's why it's one of those FPL moments for me this season. Like the Saliba goals have been incredible. Hope you're good as well, Philip. Nice to see you in the chat. Semenyo or Rogers for Enzo? I'd be more keen to sell Rogers. Would you sell Varia for Timber or do you have Gabriel, or sell Martinez for Allison this week? I don't like Allison as a keeper because I think defensive coverage for Liverpool is better going for Van Dijk or Trent. So maybe I'll pick the former. Any news about Gabriel? Not yet. Salah is fixture proof with no centre backs in Anfield to be cooking. If Palmer hadn't had 2 penalties, we'll all be on Salah. I mean, fair enough. But then again, I'll also say that, it's one of the reasons why we picked Palmer as a captain in the first place. Like, penalties are a thing. They are a thing in the game. Is it overthinking to continue ignoring João Pedro? Could I differentiate a bit with Evan Nielsen? I don't think it's overthinking. It's just where you think there's gains to be made. If you ignore João Pedro, you got to be thinking that Evan Nielsen is going to be scoring more points than João Pedro over the next few game weeks. So if you're happy enough to take that gamble, then back your gut. Let me get the computer to charge. Doesn't seem to want to charge. All right, fixed it. Sorry, best sub for Rico Lewis. If you're buying a defender this week, it comes down to either one of Levi Colwell or Milos Kerkez for me. Which combo is your favorite? Timber Iwobi, Gabriel Enzo, or Gomez Johnson? Gabriel Enzo. Last year, Saliba had a goal that he didn't know about it where it bounced off his shoulder. Where is this luck coming from? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? It happens. Lionel says, considering your current team, what kind of changes would you propose to someone who wants to try and overtake you in points? Asking for a friend. If you're really chasing, you just have to go different. Like, pick the areas that you want to go different and bet against it. And usually that would mean going for slightly more maverick picks, but you just have to kind of similar thinking to the previous question, right? Like, could you differentiate a little bit? Like, you just have to be able to back the fact that the players that I have, for example, aren't going to score X number of points over the next few game weeks, and your player or your differential that you pick is going to score more points. So you pick the one that you want to, go different from, and then just go for an explosive differential there. Salah captain, fair enough. I have 3.4 million in the bank. Should I upgrade Cunha to Isak now or after Leicester and Ipswich? I think I would give Cunha these last few games, I'll be honest. Chelsea have been bad against Brentford historically. 1 win in the last 6. I'm sticking with Salah. I mean, fair enough. I've seen that stat as well. But things are a little bit different this season, right? Like, Brentford have been conceding so much more goals than they usually do every season. They're just not locking out the back as they usually would. Or I guess you can say as they historically would. Who do you bring in for Van de Ven for under 5.4 million? I've got Wan-Bissaka, Aït-Nouri, and Justin. I think Levi Colwell is my favorite one. Start Semenyo, Evan Nielsen, or Mbumo. If I have to choose one, I'd say Evan Nielsen. Does distance a team travels matter or just the fact that they're away? I think I give more weight to the home and away kind of thing. Virgil van Dijk has 1 goal and 1 assist in 15 games this season. Why do you prefer him to Alisson, who is 1 million cheaper? I mean, Alisson has 0 goals this season. Like the outfielder just has greater goal threat, I would say. And actually, there were a couple of games this season, from corners especially, that Virgil van Dijk could have scored from the set piece. So I still back the defense. I still back the defender. Sujan says, love the stream. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for liking the stream. Talking about likes, we are on 60 likes now. So if you guys haven't liked the stream yet, please do help me out and hit the like button. We are 40 likes off of our usual 100 like target. So hopefully you guys can help me out and hit the 100 like target today. Why go Palmer over Salah captain? I just think the matchup is easier. I just think it's an easier matchup. Why Colwell? Chelsea can see a lot with Colwell. Colwell or Kirkes? Maybe you're talking yourself into Kirkes. Watkins out to Isak. Thoughts? I like that move. Especially for free. It's going to be between Colwell and Kirkes for me, and I think I will still go Colwell. We have quite a long way more to go, actually. Just realized. We started the stream quite early today. Might not stream all the way until... I might not stream for... like all the way until 2 hours for the deadline that I usually do. We'll see how long we can go for. But just in case I haven't answered your questions yet, like please drop it in the chat. Today is a perfect opportunity for me to just get through everybody's questions. My team is Flecken, Gabriel, Aitnuri, Dallo, Palmer, Fernandez, Salah, Brennan Johnson, Solanke, João Pedro, Cunha, Verbruggen, Garnacho, Lewis, Keane. Should I roll or not? I think you can make some transfers there. Defensive transfers for sure. And so one defender transfer is what I would do. And you have another free transfer. Maybe you could sell... I'm not super convinced on Garnacho is what I'd say. Like Garnacho to someone like Enzo Fernandez, it could work. Palmer captain for me, nice, very, very nice that it's on 49% now. Would you play Aitnuri or Colwell? I play Colwell. Would you bench Rodgers, Kevin De Bruyne, Evan Nielsen, or Cunha? I would bench Rodgers. Out of those, Vissa or Semenyo, I would play Semenyo over Vissa. Crew Ploppy says, evening from Thailand, very, very nice. Captain Isak, hopefully that works out for you. He's going to be a differential this week. Would you do Cunha to Isak after the next 1 or 2 game weeks or Aitnuri to Virgil van Dijk? You see, the issue that I have is the Newcastle fixtures after like a certain point in time. Like after a certain point in time, it does not look as good. Like I think this stretch is pretty tricky. Like I'll be honest. I think this stretch is pretty tricky. So if you delay it and don't do it this week, I think maybe the next time you actually get Isak is probably game week 21. Right, so I think you can't really see the fixture difficulty kind of indicator by the official FPL. But if you take a look at Isak's fixtures, I think if you don't buy him now in game week 16, the next time you probably buy him is game week 21. Should I take a -4 to get rid of Vardiol? Not necessary. Kulusevski captain, not something I would do for sure. Arnold says bench one of Pedro, Semenyo, or Bowen. It's very tricky, this one. Like Pedro, I play for sure, so it comes down to Bowen or Semenyo. Probably I play Bowen and then bench Semenyo. Jackson or Cunha. Okay, please don't spam in the chat. But Jackson or Cunha, I try to play both. If I have to choose one though, then I would choose Jackson. What to do with Watkins? Bought him on wildcard last week. Well, it is what it is. Like if you can do Watkins to Isak this week to kind of, switch it up, I think I would. FPL Wave says 2 weeks ago, you shouted out to my 6-year-old Henry, then recommended Saka who hold. Can you shout out again, please? You're a legend in our house. This week, Isak or Haaland captain. Well, I'm very happy to hear that. Shout out to your 6-year-old son, Henry. Isak or Haaland captain? Like if I have to choose between Isak or Haaland, I think I back Isak. But I do hope that I'm wrong because I don't have Isak. But for your sake, I hope Isak does well. If I have Mikalenko if Gabriel doesn't play, should I do Mikalenko to Trent or Larson to Isak? I think Larson to Isak feels like the higher upside move. Like usually the attacking transfer is the one with the higher upside. What do you think about benching Garnacho, starting Johnson, playing 3-4-3 and just roll? Yes, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Current defenders are Gabriel Mazraoui, Virgil van Dijk, Van de Ven, and Romero. Thinking of selling Romero for Kirkes? Yes, I think you should. Like both of them are injured. How are we today? I'm good. Hope you're good as well. The man, the myth, the legend. You reckon João Pedro could outscore Kluivert this week? Yes, I do think so. I think I will start João Pedro ahead of Kluivert. Fair enough. All the kind of Fulham players missing out. I mean, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. That could be another reason why maybe people will go Fulham. Go Salah captain. 8 Nuri or Kirkes. I prefer Kirkes this week. Thoughts on the captain options? Positives of going Palmer or Salah. Well, I had a bit of a, analysis on that, but I just overall as a summary back the fixture more for Palmer. I've got Isak FOMO this week. I can't lie. Yeah, I know what you mean. Crew Floppy says, I will be 68 years old on Wednesday. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to you. 68 years old. 68 years young. Thoughts on replacing Boomer with Harvey Barnes? Not sold on that. Not sold on that. Would you have Rogers and Semenyo? I don't mind them, but I think soon I'd be selling Rogers. Right, I'll be back real quick. Let me just have a go at the. Let me just have a short break at the washroom. I'll be back in a little bit. Just All right, we're back. This. All right. Where were we? Best Rico Lewis replacement just in case Gabriel does not play. If I'm to sell Rico Lewis this week, it will be for Levi Colwell. With Haaland blanking, FPL becoming so template now. I think that was the issue. Like the moment Haaland started blanking, everyone moved towards a structure where you just back all the premium midfielders like Salah, Saka, and Palmer. So I guess that's one of the downsides. Like, and I spoke about it in one of the team selection videos earlier this season. Like, I kind of felt we were moving towards a template already the moment Haaland started blanking. So it's not ideal. I actually do hope that Haaland starts scoring again and then, bring a bit of chaos into the current state of FPL where everyone is just, going for the standard midfield picks. Like it's starting to become a little bit template already. Meridian says just subscribe. Thank you very much for subscribing. I think we just hit, let me just have a look. I think we just hit 10,300 subscribers. Yeah, we've just hit the milestone. Like 10,300 subscribers. So thank you very much for all of you guys who have subscribed to the channel. Appreciate that. Should I start Sanchez or Fabianski? I would start Sanchez. Johnson or Semenyo? On Sanchez as well. Enzo Maresca was asked again about whether Sanchez is still first choice. And for the time being, he still said that he backs Sanchez. Johnson or Semenyo? I take Johnson against Southampton this week for sure. Right, like Spurs arguably have one of the better fixtures this week, but Spurs are Spurs. And they struggle against easier teams, but they do well against difficult opposition. Johnson and Cunha to Enzo and Isak. Nah, I keep Johnson and Cunha. Thoughts on the mystery chip? I had a huge ramble on about it at the start of the stream. You can scroll back a little bit. But I also covered some of my initial thoughts on the chip in the team selection video towards the end of it. So you can check out the GW16 team selection if you haven't already. Just scroll to the back. There's a section on the mystery chip. Start João Pedro or start Enzo Fernandez? I'll start João Pedro. Out of Vincent is a member, so thank you for coming down to the stream. Appreciate the membership. Out of Vissa, Cunha, and João Pedro, who would you sell for Jackson? I prefer selling Vissa because the fixtures start to get bad for him. Crew Ploppy says he has gone for Hainani's chicken rice. You would be happy to know that I actually had chicken rice for lunch before the stream. You'd be happy to know. Should I sell Darlow and Flecken for Allison and Robinson? You will bench Robinson. I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of buying Allison still. I'm undecided between Sells and Raya or go for an Allison. So there's a lot of talk about now today's stream. A lot of people want to cover the Liverpool defense by getting the keeper. But I just prefer someone like Trent or Van Dijk. I still prefer the extra threat that you get, whether it's from set pieces or open play assists for Trent. Like, I prefer that over going for someone like Allison. Haaland, Salah, Enzo, Palmer, or Jackson, Salah, Saka, and Palmer. That's the thing about the template right now, right? Everyone is going for the latter, and I think I still do prefer the latter as well. It's just Haaland not justifying his price tag is the issue. Should I start Gordon or Fernandez? I prefer Gordon over Fernandez this week. Fabianski or Henderson? I prefer... maybe Henderson. I just bet Crystal Palace more as a defense than West Ham, though I think both concede. Play Rogers or João Pedro. This one is straightforward. This one I would go João Pedro. Frederick says, feel like benching Gabriel because I can't see him playing 60 minutes. I prefer to play Vardiol. I mean, fair enough. If that's what you think, you could go for that. My estimation, or I guess prediction, is that if Gabriel starts, he would get until, maybe the 80th minute or so. That's usually when they start taking Gabriel out. So I don't think it'd be a case where, especially if it's not clear cut, like especially if it's kind of a 1-0 situation or a 2-0 situation, I don't think they'd be so keen on so keen on substituting Gabriel out so quickly. Don't really trust Chelsea defense for clean sheets. Keane does not start. Another replacement for 4.8. Thank you. Start one of Verbruggen or Flecken. I'll start Verbruggen for sure. You don't really trust Chelsea defense for clean sheets. Then I think you could go for Kirkes. That's probably the next defender I would look to. Is Mbumo to Enzo worth it? Technically, I would view it as a move that frees up funds, right? So it also depends how you're going to use the funds. Like if you have plans for the funds, let me know what are your plans, and I think it could be more justified. Like I don't think it'd just be a case of a direct matchup of Mbumo and Enzo. Because if it is, I think Mbumo is the better asset when compared to Enzo Fernandez. Because of penalties, largely. Team is Raya, Hall, Gabriel, Aitnuri, Trent, Palmer, Semenyo, Salah, Saka, Jackson, João Pedro. One free transfer. On the bench, it's Vissa, Rogers, Fabianski, and Greaves. I think your team is fine. It's just about getting the starting 11 correct. Start Cunha or João Pedro. I think if I have to choose between one, I prefer João Pedro. Should I bring in Cunha and Strand Larsen this week? You have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. This is not a week to be transferring in Wolves players. Satyaki says, hello Leon, who to bench? 8 Nuri, Hall, Gomez, or Timber? I think I will start Gomez and Timber. So it comes down to one of 8 Nuri and Hall. I think I just bench 8 Nuri, to be honest. Ilko says, I want to use the money from Mbumo to Enzo to get Trent in my team. Then that is very worth it. Like then it justifies the move. You see, that's what I mean. Would you triple up on Chelsea attack and buy Enzo or buy Ahmad instead? I don't think I want to triple up on Chelsea attack. I don't think I will do that. Start Evan Nielsen or Enzo. Evan Nielsen. Whom should I start? Colwell, Hall, or Ryan 8 Nuri? I think I prefer Hall over Colwell this week. 8 Nuri is just last. Right. I think this is pretty much it. Any other questions, please drop it in the chat. I think we'll end the stream in about 10 minutes time. Because we've been going on for about, I think, 1.5 hours. Let me just have a look. Yeah, we've been on for about 1 hour and 20 minutes now. So if I haven't gotten to your questions, please do drop it in the chat. Let me just check on the leaks as well, if we have anything. People are asking about Gabriel news. Yeah, nothing yet. Nothing at the moment. All right. Thank you for the advice. Yeah, no worries at all. Thank you, Consult. And lastly, start Kyrgios or Lewis Hall, please. I prefer starting Lewis Hall this week. Is Gabriel going to play today? We don't have any news. Best 8 new replacement. Roger, nice to see you in the chat. A member. Um, 8 new replacements this week. I would still look towards Caldwell or Kyrgios this week. But next week, that changes. I think I'll go Anthony Robinson next week. Crew Ploppy says I was a fool and have Sanchez and Jorgensen for security. So next game week, I'm selling Jorgensen for Forest to free up a Chelsea asset. I mean, I guess that's is one of those kind of things where maybe you won't be paying too much attention to while you're building the draft, and then now come a point in time where you want to triple up on Chelsea, then it becomes an issue. So I guess moving forward, it's just about a case of only doubling up on keepers from the same team if you're certain that from that team you wouldn't want any other players. Say, for example, actually, to be honest, even the Flecken and Valdemarson pairing on a wild card, I didn't really like it because there's always a possibility some people want to go Mbumo and Wissa as well. And then you have Flecken and Valdemarson, that's 4. So that's not, that's something to think about. Like, generally, just only double up on keepers if you're sure that you wouldn't want to get more outfielders from there. But it's okay. I mean, things like that happen. So we'll just correct the mistake. It's okay. Who should I bring in for attackers if not Wolves players? There's so many good ones. Like up front, if you don't have João Pedro, you could bring him in. If you don't have Isak, you could bring Isak in. If you don't have in midfield, one of the premiums like Salah, Saka, Palmer, you should be going for them. If not, cheaper ones could be Enzo Fernandez, Alex Iwobi, Enzo Fernandez, Alex Iwobi. There's one more in midfield I'm missing. Ahmad. But Ahmad has Man City this week, so you probably wouldn't buy him this week. Good Vista replacement for the same price. I would look towards one of João Pedro or Chris Wood if you have a little bit more money. Kipto Mike says, appreciate what you do. Lots of love from Kenya. Hoping for max points this week. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for the support as well. Appreciate you coming down to the stream. And obviously hoping for all of us to get green arrows this week. Also, by the way, before we leave, we are 9 likes away from the 100 like target. So if you haven't already, could you please help me out to hit the like button? We've been hitting the 100 like target for at least the past 2 to 3 streams. So hopefully we can keep this streak going. So if you haven't, just a very quick request to just take a second or two, drop a like on the stream. We'll be ending soon as well. Gino says, hi, Don, if I have Gabriel and Dean as my first sub, should I transfer Luca Dean out? If it's for a -4, I wouldn't. If it's for free, maybe I would. Right? And I would go for someone like Colwell or Kyrgios, for example. Evan Nielsen plus Bowen or Enzo plus Isak for a -4. Oh, sorry. By the way, Luca Dean could also be transferred out for someone like Joe Gomez. Evan Nielsen plus Bowen or Enzo plus Isak for a -4. I think Enzo plus Isak, to be honest. I think Enzo plus Isak. Owen says, do you prefer Saliba or Timber to pair up with Gabriel? I think now, if I could change it up, I would go Timber instead, save that extra money. But obviously, I'm pleased that I have Saliba because of late he's been scoring. But I think if I go for one now, it probably will be Timber. 100 likes? Have we hit 100 likes? Yes, we have hit 100 likes. So thank you all so much for helping me out to hit 100 likes. I think that's pretty much it. We're going to call it a day. My team is as such. It's probably not going to change. If the Gabriel leaks come out that he doesn't start, then Lewis to Colwell is what I would do, and then Colwell comes into the starting 11. But that really depends on whether we get leaks. My guess is that Arsenal keep it under wraps. We haven't been getting Arsenal leaks for the past few game weeks already, so I don't think we will get much news. But if I do get, I will post it in all my socials, whether it's on Twitter, on Instagram, on the broadcast channel, etc. If not, This is probably going to be my team, as you see on the screen. Captaincy will likely still be on Palmer. I think I'm having some thoughts about whether I should switch it to Salah, but it's really not a lot of thought that I'm putting to it. Basically, I'm not very confident that I'm going to switch it from Palmer to Salah. It's been on Palmer for the whole week. I may just keep it still on Palmer. Just having a little bit more of a think, and I will, as usual, post my team on socials, whether it's Instagram or Twitter. You can catch me there. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I also want to just say before we go, I haven't been as consistent posting videos of late because work has really been getting in the way. But hopefully for next week onwards, we'll be able to kick on and get more content out for you guys. But yeah, I do apologize for that. And thank you for bearing with me. If not, all the best for Game Week 16. I hope it works out for you. Green arrows for everyone. And I'll catch you guys in more Game Week 17 content coming very soon. Bye-bye.